KFC now so no wakwaje aye o check me patro we chips chicken and your drinks and KFC bibia be kama e dia ma aja filo milk na makama asema to se filo timo aye industry sale limited o mo na de filo milk na ba open milk papa milk be bo milk eno ene ya ja tuma aye filo milk me so ba bibia ubenya aye filo milk ne bia to supermarket sawro nyina akwa ubenya bi mo sawro nyina no ubenya filo milk ne bi na bia so ye kama o de aye filo milk aye filo timo for Adaroma and omudi filo milk and swaba and more say Gino Jollof ayen miss no the only I won so share and all rice no aye Gino Jollof miss mini aba me so and then yes pe eti make sure send enwa and all the jollof no ediama aye emi mama bia so etima kama into person jollof no ye da yusu aye Gino Jollof miss no and on na ebebo ye di san come no Dr. Amuzu and the Amuzu P ne enso dia ba Amuzu garlic bitters no dia ba Amuzu P no aye infections adra Ghana enwa na ne etu infections no nyina se Amuzu P and we infections adro Amuzu garlic bitters aye for blood circulation ebeyi aye sane man nyina free ho amada bia wontini mu emosisi da bia bo se aye dia blood ne be flow ni peduanom amada bia wonya hoden odie no ye wo gastomation and menso plus aye dia nature medicine father Roma and omote menso plus and gastomation no omote abadwaso meso so onya bia ebebo pi menso plus menu aba sebu mense ba na oti pains odie no gastomation no aye for stomach ulcer and so onya bia ebeyi ni na free ama bia so timi aye kama na teso ho enso timi ato ene ye je no kwame anya transe team na transe be ko mo so ye ne ye didi nkomo kakra enche ye be se aba ne aba beto so mo pesa mo ko Dubai no eno so ye be ba didi nkomo enche kra e dia mamo kwame bibi aboko de
yango padum ke
ye nkomo kakra
ma men sha asem femfre bibrem ha sei because enra history kese etimi esiye e Africa ha ohwe World Cup qualifiers na group D abewiye enra na group D ne bewiye no Cape Verde for a top pace our group no with 23 points then Cameroon nya 19 points Libya for nya 16 points and Angola nya 12 points kin at the time our group no anasa draw ne ba bonten no me you pretty sure say oka kire nipa dodo na say ye bobo group ni nyina ewie wo group D no why na obetimi atop group no edi first a me ye sure say nipa dodo na no ebetimi yi Cameroon national team no bayenra Cape Verde for ameki sa history no onim say omotwe Cameroon mu 4 points we are talking about Cameroon national team eba World Cup omabo mo homodem pa by Cape Verde for etwemu 4 points ama Cape Verde for ameki history for themselves any country they say for the first time ometimi qualify e dey ko FIFA World Cup ken ade ba ko eto de bia World Cup ya na countries ne ni abri bebre timamufo ne ni abri bebre so mpese omo country ne ko World Cup no eya sa o country ko World Cup benefit eya country ni nya no eso bebre me kai pass Ghana your first time I qualify for World Cup that was in 2006 Ghana qualify and ken eba Ghana no be e kasafa Ghana ho obi wo hompo kra because of World Cup and ote ekro bi te say Ghana enti Ghana qualify World Cup no ken yenye a lot of foreigners e mo ba ekro ase omba ekro ase no ombenya ba biada ombeto aduane ombefa car foreigners no e boa ma economy ni pijai after see you qualify for your first World Cup you qualify ye no ona mo monten so a unhu MPP ni unhu NDC ni World Cup na Ghana qualify no for the first time e de nkabomu e de ball man nim e de anigye e de ball man mu enti country bi qualify for World Cup for the first time again e ya na benefit as a country ni nya no e ya na eso bebre en se wo cheke Comoros a World Cup yo ma qualify no se wo fa ba bia ana obi a Cape Verde because Cape Verde a qualify for mo first World Cup so wo cheke Cape Verde as a country a nipa dodo sign na wo ho based on numbers omo population 590,000 and wo Cape Verde say even Kumasi for crowd so say Cape Verde kro ni nyina enti eye kro kitwa bi and omo qualify for mo first World Cup from enra no omo qualify besi ne no internet ni so obi ese Cape Verde in some for big media stations in obi e ka Cape Verde no asem enti abema Cape Verde as a country abaye popular after some qualify for more first World Cup enti obi o ho a onim Cape Verde until Cape Verde dinda but what say Cape that qualify for almost first work for the first time no or betina si aba beseche omo ye hwan mu die mpokra no omo ye wo ho eno ko Cape sesi a ade ba ko ebu omo economy nipa no tourism and to be onim Cape because of World Cup because of football no was set Cape when we say ho no tourism no wasoro and to betime buki flight akọ Cape okokrom ho a o diska na ekọ ho and to World Cup ba akọ Cape for a qualify no obi e ka ho asem ekrona country na be popular ebe generate a lot of income at the ama country no and to World Cup the kid so we kro e qualify bia e ya na feeling ni different and if it is say Cape for enya independence in 1975 abro mo ti omo ho efiri Portugal ho no metima ka tro say adekase ba ko esi krom opa no e World Cup no mo qualify ade ana Cape for nim say e ya adekase pa ye say 1975 from be gaining independence from Portugal we independence if you are World Cup you ma qualify the kid e ya adekase e de ma Cape as a country because ade o man down some ho da ye da no because first no Cape no mo ye part of Portugal. So from 1930 World Cup, ABC 1974, no mo ye part of FIFA. And I say no mo no mo ye part of Portugal. And etire no, omo so buy ya from 1978 eba 1982 World Cup e Spain. Na omo nye affiliated to FIFA, enti no mo ntimi en qualify. But mo gaining independence no, omo try so betima qualify for the World Cup. And enra nyame nchade, omo timi qualify. Obi bebusa say the secret of Cape Verde omo football net to say. Ken na me ye reading bi na me hwe mo video bi na o reading na akwa ekira eye nyoma mienu ana amene Cape Verde team ya qualify for the World Cup. The first thing we decide is on be na say on be develop a local talents no omo ti krom ho no on be chance develop omo no ma sa akwa amanone akoye recruitment omo nchi every Cape Verde entis what Cape Verde for players na bebre na no wabo Portugal under 17 under 19, under 20. Enti omo bring local talents no. Na omo say recruitment outside. Omo nchi. Esusu free Cape Verde no. Ano ma beka omo ho ediabom. Enti so what Cape Verde omo share sa project we say in 2010. Kenonim said the last 4 AFCONs omo to qualify no. Akobi no the last 2. And I said 2 emu mienu. Omo kodu quarter final. Even recent AFCON ebo wa Ivory no. South Africa na yi omo efri mu enti oma your mind back gradually omo develop your football and many aje e de ama a country to say Cape Verde say for the first time omo timi qualify na de back ken US o Cape Verde de be kono beautiful ladies okop tournament a Cape Verde na beautiful ladies de omo tie de ba enti Cape Verde ye be hwe omo first time e World Cup na me aduma 2026 e US Mexico and Canada big ups to Cape Verde omo football in the federation nyina. And also, yeah, witness another history betting we be bring see because o checking Nigeria so helped Nefi against Benin, South Africa so helped Nefi against Rwanda. By March, attention because so kesi pano Nigeria and a Benin game no. Can you say Nigeria? Omo neighboring countries no Benin can be on the east side. Wanna Benin wo Benin in Nigeria di omo boshie. Omo ni momu ye. And attention kakra edomumu. Enti apart from football na nkasa no, that political tension kakra na ewo Benin Nigeria mu no, ebesa ma game ni me hiti peyi. By Ken, yemfa bibia nto nchen. And then Nigeria, obi to say Ademola Lookman, enti means ya can because of a suspension, accumulated yellow cards. Ola Eina, ewo injury. We players impokron be out of this game impokre free wa. Nigeria wo enough quality say on any day. I was so mutimi jina Beni and no mutimi she Beni. Say Nigeria ye ka player for player. Africa say omu krebi. From Victor Osimhen, Samuel Chukwueze, indeed Dialesi Iwobi Basimo. O they compare Beni players na emuche. At the same time, Nigeria force our good record against Benin. And it's a what check omo from 1977 ebesina. Nigeria and Benin abo 19 times. 19 times a Nigeria and Benin abono. Nigeria win 14. Benin win 2 and emu miensa abo draw. And in terms of individual materials, Nigeria was rosen Benin. Eba records Nigeria was rosen Benin. Bible sound say, edi intina Benin fo no wogidie say. And on betima kwa question Nigeria. Edi intina so far qualifies in Benin enya more points. Ese intima friend say Nigeria. The answer is simple. Nigeria will individual names, by a back collective play now, and a back teamer, Almost see a kind of commitment was Ropana a Benin national team. No, and the idea the Benin, Emma Mujidi so bit my question Nigeria. No, that collective play no mobi, as saying team friends in Nigeria, and that commitment level no more players ni see a kind on person muku hono by a bad records, a bad individual brilliance. Nigeria for the Ewosro, South Africa for the so be renew game. No more bomb pay say Nigeria beat Masha Benin for so die, da go. The here so bet me win game we. Se Benin win say kukuro another history esi ewo Africa. Entiene you ba ko witness sa game no. Ken, we a story be about Barcelona camp. On say recently, Barcelona for results eba na enkoyi. Losing against PSG with UEFA Champions League. Oko Ramon Sanchez pre-1. Ese kwako lusu against Sevilla. Enti sa wo check results ane enkoyi nansin. Ana news be free Barcelona camp abia player we player we ko national team due to epra enti news free Barcelona camp oba no eya na enye news a de bebre Lewandowski dia ba amwa ba beka kiwoni mi say oyo stories ya na me monitor Barcelona. The reason why na wo ye Rafinha de no ye say Rafinha de no eye setback no asenya e woni injury no na Barcelona for hope say at least Enya shekra na nkombetima rest ya managina against Girona, against Olympiacos, but against Real Madrid, ewo classico ni no. Ankombetima ye 100% fit. No ababa besi akandi ama Barcelona. But the recovery session no anu kunya wasa kunya setback. Which is a bad news for Barcelona. Because every coach, every football club ya empire boni ye say injuries ewo football mu. Nemum say injuries ne be do so bebra e ya affect team ni play e affect team ni results e affect team ni system enti say we check the current Barcelona injury list no now we check players o mepra so far Barcelona for the first choice goalkeeper we pra Barcelona defensively enye the best by goalkeeper ne by one Garcia by no obe showcase me wiase nyina hu say we beat Barcelona defensive line impokra na o ye goalkeeper dem o ma Barcelona for no arehyiemu say obetima save or you out. Barcelona mfimfin ho players ni bi eprepra. Na baby ama Barcelona foni esu kese kra na eyo manim ho. Let's not forget number 10s mienu no Dani Olmo out. After na Femi Lopez free injury ever. Omu hope so betima gaining in fitness. Lamine Yamal after no free injury ba or your forward line player. Rafinha setback aba. Ferran Torres ekopra ye yesu betima ya available. So betima piki edru ni pick no question. I was see busa ye ho Lewandowski akwa kupra ana Rafinha de so setback aba enti baby ama Barcelona ayi hu kese de ama no the forward line department enti se me ye Barcelona fana Rafinha setback no na me hwe the injury list na enim ho no it seems say otutu ani akwa ye Marcus Rashford, and the reason why Rashford numbers was wrong no say majority of players no se Barcelona players na 100% fitter definitely on the right side Lamine Yamal, left side and Rafinha, but because of series of injuries and also I make room for Rashford say also betima perform by Rafinha plan the kin setback no because season is too young Barcelona injury list na do so dodo and me feel it for Hansi Flick to be honest
February ho here panaba
back in one shade ni susu asi susu e ha adwen
some season ho na start na
in a season
or no last season say at this stage no the best player we are saying
Rafinha yeah
anti or between that time Dembele in pride
that
time Dembele say no count the Dembele train yeah
but one thing is say oka se season no ye nyanduru ebi ehia pa na otina ho na ulusu na madu di twim na maybe say that time I be picking na maybe say o man you compete no how
say the answer sana ma adwen yemi because Rafinha last season as at this stage no the best player. Jude Bellingham 2 seasons ago no be a man no but Nkofo be the last 2 matches be better ebe be win here into on train
but are we
on train so February no waba
are we talking about individual and as a club say Barcelona for because say a team ne be ko nanima e wo say onya all the big guys
on the run system they so be qualified that time they run system
also bring your players
that time run system
the Kwame person o kire ne say from February to the end of the season opa sheni nyina na se season yeah start no one start here for so be no ebeba so but what I say if you start losing your point today now quiet from February to the end of the season.
Or the Champions League. Someone is asking.
Two best watchers say,
La Liga and find Jibalondo. And I the League Jibalondo.
The next Champions League against Olympiacos. Now Barcelona could drop points.
Oh, they will qualify.
Even without Rafinha, they can qualify.
Now Rafinha, no, Mamusa Sana Judy Super Soy. Omun na Dembele asat last say there's no bobo na bobo bi.
Oh, now said that Dembele anka starting ball from the 15th of December.
And you know best player we say. And Tibabi here no beba. Timon transfer.
No, but honestly, I think say you should be much concerned pa we Barcelona fan, we Hans Flicker.
Players no make Semenyo. Players no. Enye Barca players no kwa. Players across. Especially top players. Injuries say ne baby and year kakra bi anko de bebo last season ahwe ni wa omo
World Cup
omo this who say you fully fit answer na wa ba bebo de ama wo enti ebesi bebre bebre obeti yes player we or cover 1 week we cover 2 weeks e wo mo obeba bebo but one panier so far ma omo
bebre and you panier some they say there because the ideal thing is that normal season players ne you be one panier or you okay one you season no pre-season ni mo no not the agina home they are recover but this time around you season na World Cup and in your message ho
hwe ene de ne yi sisi e se inaka training sisi ya inaka wa training sisi ya se first pass en ka Ghana for Rebecca Sapa
and yemum se Lami ya mai
ebi na Lami so ye no inaki e training sisi ya but when timi am boy 2 matches no but say because no kakra bi ba so hwe ne ho yi because World Cup na dey beba
footballers prioritizing the World Cup
yes into World Cup na
but you see the kind of conversation on the same from the club's perspective Hans Flick or Jamie team ni ho. And to be very honest, injuries now piling up for Barcelona. I know what's you. Robert Lewandowski, Dani Olmo, Rafinha, Gavi, Juan Garcia, Fran Torres, Lamine Yamal, and Femi Lopez. That's like 8 players. And as I say, Lamine Abba. And as I say, Ferran Torres, and Femi Lopez Abba. In some moment, my say Lewandowski, Rafinha, Gavi, Juan Garcia. That's like 5 players and in your mind. I'll be last season about Girona game. No, it's clearly it will affect the team. Na me krana sam no kwame aka Rafinha sam. Robert Lewandowski situation. I am ya. Lewandowski, bear 1 year ni. Send your injuries ni air piling up no. Eya koyam to say. And nunti na Barcelona for dream you say bia boy no omuntwa so. Kid Lewandowski. Ne papa obo judo. Ne mame obo volley. Ne sister obo volley. Ne yere and so ya athletes. Ne yere crowd and saying or sans nutritionist. Into no ne body no with all due respect. First thing they be a make Lewandowski as someone. Baby, I will do with it 37 years. So I'm the Lewandowski picture to television also. Now we share the body no. First, what the man said, why very disciplined with his body. And yet 37-year-old the Biana or body be to say Lewandowski Diano. It takes a lot of discipline to play at the highest level at age 37. And yeah, easy. I was so that. I was so rested with Jim Kakra, a Bianibo, how windy. It's any place being an it's me, yes, sir. It is all people at the highest level as age 37. Be mono, much respect to him before you talk about other stuff. And nothing up to now. One player I will always respect is Thiago Silva. They say, 41 so gusobo. All features names are about 38 years. Oba Chelsea foforo nipa dodoɔ na ababe 80% ka se ontimi mo Chelsea not just because our son no mo say nimpom no wago but discipline and they didn't do this level. Shall Ronaldo it takes a lot to get there. But once Lewandowski try me an interview now, acquire the Polish national team was say, "Ayan for the age na air judge no feels and way only for interview no way acquire tester was pra." Clearly, he also he's working very very hard to say still an obey relevant Europe. Onye na dream so obekwa Saudi Arabia, obeso twice born Europe. But truth be told, Oko Poland national team. First game, boy, a friendly game against New Zealand. Because they want to protect him. And Oko ball Lithuania game na or share goal. And ye game no so. O Philippines ne biceps ken. Ne sre ne chino left, ne sre ne chino. And ni move reno. And doctors say let's go and check because how there either say biceps nanka say na issue and now so say ebi ebeti my hamstring. I'm go check here. A serious injury. When inform Barcelona for no. Possibly ebi a bare 1 month to be he's going out. I told Ferran Torres now so. Ferran Torres so pray nan say umuana abakakra. Umuana so or they manage the ball no. It looks like Barcelona front train there obia say akwani mu bie pa dia ma no Marcus Rashford and nothing na me say he needs to take advantage of the situation because and we ya pra no akwasha ha ochina na we ya pra no akwasha ha it looks like he wabobo no this time he's getting more games. He needs to amass the numbers because clearly if Rafinha, if Lewandowski, if Lamine Yamal fits no contest. You see me feeling for Hans Flick. He needs to manage the situation a prano doors dodo. Say what breaking news for Barcelona or Barcelona fan yem show. Say any me call for back we pra. Ken Antoine Semenyo now saying positive news pa na eba na me tie story no. Na say Liverpool, Manchester United, Arsenal. And I serious about Antoine Semenyo. Manchester United, omo boni din ebeta Semenyo wa. Omo say for Manchester United, a coach ne penasam. Omo bo Liverpool, omo say Richard Hughes enim no. Of course, Richard Hughes no oye adwuma de mo bomb of on a sporting director edema Liverpool sisi ya. Inti upe obi onim Antoine Semenyo a Richard Hughes. Now what you what ba Arsenal? What can Arsenal? Arsenal almost sporting director Andrew Beta and a penasem. It's again 3 big clubs 2 sporting directors and a pair Antoine Semenyo back your coach, which is Manchester United. Now, in common on the clubs are looking at ways possibly on behalf Antoine Semenyo, and that is what clubs do. And almost say, boy, they extend a contract, let them bomb off no. Almost the release clause a shame. It's a possibility be why. You don't need to negotiate with bomb off. Just go and pay the money and you are good to go. No question me woman say. Who follow football? You nyaka release clause or no context. And my dear no cry for. Who Spainer? So Obekuta release clause now open one. Just go and pay the money and you are good to go. Back in. The reality pa me kamu no credit achamo say. England release clauses now what's at wagimu. English clubs. So what is so the release clause as will be contract more. And yes Spain the any bia wo ya which is kadi ato na wo. England clubs meaning what is wrong with them. And it looks like MSA clubs no win in ISA. First of all, release clause. Okwa Spainer, Obienim, a known knowledge. Who can play away, who born a release clause, I shall, Obiaya away. England, plus release clause, Omudi see. Omun can't show that. To say, and they Antoine Semenyo the number. Bomb of forces, someone can't the clubs, no. Because clubs now, inquiry. On person who say release clause be or saying, bomb of see Omunka. Because they want to keep the boy. But, truth be told, contracts now between Antoine Semenyo and the Bournemouth. Into Bournemouth so on can Semenyo nim. Into the easiest way they say Semenyo person call Liverpool. Semenyo can easily tell Liverpool, say, me and me sign a contract, release clause, no, 70, 80, obetinya cafe Ghana de ache Liverpool. Then Liverpool will go to Bournemouth and pay the money. And says, but I mean, try window for Frost so so. Sadly, way Michael Olise to Chelsea, Crystal Palace release clause 35. In Central for no question 35. Crystal Palace and cre. Then Yahu said Chelsea for Eddie Sikako for Michael Olise. Crystal Palace for Munji Sikano. Then Michael Olise becomes a player for Chelsea. And a Crystal Palace for threatening Chelsea say, "What happy boy? A dynamo who say release clause no, a 35 million."
Just say, the year ten say a 75. I won't confirm. Say a new 100 million for Semenyo. Say a barbon tennis a figure near corrector. It just a team bia on a Semenyo edin komobiano. Bomb of obetimi akase. What happened? What happened? What the boy couldn't come because your money Semenyo pay any. And again, Semenyo so or family.
Let's say agent so sign.
Yes, a family agent account. Say I don't really care about it.
And no na means a clubs na.
Omuli kiswa club ni na beba betan Semenyo.
And no near some no.
Bomb of phone betan no.
Because you clubs no. Yeah, wouldn't the release clause now the second the same amount to qua. Or say what type of player? No, because your club young can't show. How did you know? In the Chelsea's case, almost threatening Chelsea, some of the Chelsea back cast any FIFA and the Chelsea see your Chelsea and we ideal, you know. But more recent example. Okay, Morgan Gibbs White, not some was a player, no. Or Tottenham area, no. The release clause no cost 60 million. And I'm not for one said, Darby, we are then a move 60 million a shame, what happened? Enka a Spainer is obianka tapping as some woe. Inti Semenyo problem. Release clause ne de I did there. At the ho name club na a bed taking decision so or per Semenyo no. I was very clean. Because who leave it trace say ampa one boy na kasa we inform say release clause the X amount with yati. Because truth be told, Ken Richard Hughes in the onim Semenyo in and out. Liverpool team, you know. Baby a Semenyo ko. Now benye ni mujidie na boy na bobo na aye Liverpool. Left what the kwani mo ada. Luis Diaz e free ho no. Sese akaka kodi gapo. Ene bia ngomoha. Ene bia Frederico Chiesa to some extent. Semenyo chechre di obeba bodi. Of course.
Baby a salad na kra salad ne ho betima sia gina.
Well, let's say Salah what the more plan if in the future they want to go and take Michael Olise. What you say? It's left what the Kenya bad. Back in kids way be share France for one. Or more so the Kamavinga. And nature menu so Kamavinga no. Omuntiti break kakra. Boy no Ken, I am sure so onokra will admit to say send you see pen and remando no onya ne sa. And yet, forms because even last year alone, we checked the number of injuries are boy in. In fact, I may say about 37 games, club and country, via injury. Ken, and yet, forms let me explain this. Ken, 2019, Madrid full framing round of 16th against Ajax. Don't make sure 4-1. 2020 against Manchester City. 2 seasons consecutive round of 16th, round of 16th. Madrid realized they needed to make changes in their midfield, not because Casemiro, Cruz, Modric, no Masan, but bench, you know, the influence from the bench. Now from na Isco, Bono, a city asiba, na kadani sibayo simo. One of those reasons was to bring on board Tchouaméni to take over Casemiro in the future. Tchouaméni situation on the 80 million a kofa no bonuses can 100 million. All banner pressure from Monaco. Obaye, the ideal plan is a Casemiro bubble 1 year. Na Tchouaméni understudy no we take it over. Okay. Obaye na Tchouaméni. Sorry, Casemiro had to go to Manchester United. Into one understudy and he throw no on Kobo. What I say? Into pressure ban so until Jabi Alonso beya afen yehwe se befa. Kamavinga de no. He's supposed to understudy Luka Modric and Toni Kroos mo. Obo understudy ni mo no. And Carlo Ancelotti no come left back because of the issues they've had. Okay. Ideally, meaning pass in Kaisasel last season and will take it off. And injuries be affected.
Almost was on
They became. Come, that guy is just 22 years. If I'm right, next November, or 23.
Almost improve back.
Oh, there be munya boche, there be any day me no be anyadwe.
Okay.
Boy, only born. Na say I pray say injury and sansu maybe.
Me don't see.
Obeba boni with time.
Come on, Biggie found the other so mami na yemra. Yemre and yema kakra.
One thing I've realized about football is time and patience with proper planning. Able to make any form of success and we share the abrew. Ya wahano man ye kunya akrubi e friend say Comoros. Say Comoros will be qualified by African Cup of Nations can a problem. On men who put on campus wa baba be bobe. But they decided to almost person football ni nyini. Se bo ni be nyini a den no mo be ye kwan be no mo be fa so a bo ni be nyini. E no mo contact a former Comorian footballer. Our baba be coach Ame Abdul. E no mo de Comoros team ni ma no. Se onjina on coach na omo no mo ntimi qualify for African Cup of Nations. In kaka of fair players of Comorian descent a omo wa ma no ne e no keka omo bom ken. He was appointed in 2014. Of fat team no yen in kaka no. In 2019 or qualified by the African Cup of Nations. First time no mumbo bida. The first time now bida about tournament the mumbo the performance net is saying to them it was an okay performance, it was a good one because tournament a bida now wanya akwanya baba be wura mu de ade a ohwehwe amponi say bianka group stages bi no free no corner baby, but at least obeshia giant to group ni mo a Ghana for instance utimi share Ghana Ghana free mo no qualify for the next round of the competition enti modern mon aburu su bebre e de ama omo de kyereme ene say ebre na omunyama papa no it doesn't mean say wanye mistakes, it doesn't mean say there weren't times anema nkonkan amfa no, but yet they stood behind him ema qualification na omo hwehwe no nsaka. Today cry friend is Cabo Verde a qualify our so-called World Cup for the first time. The same time, patience and a proper planning at the Omoko. Omo appointed Omo coach as is your handle team the Bobista in 2020 January and Omo appointed no. Ken he's also a former player for Cape Verdean national team and Omo Fred Papa and say Afcon the Omo Bobby. It was a plan, it was a target. Omo qualify Baba be Bobby. Says your person Omo qualify Omo call World Cup. Wabo national team ni bida. Dia no betimi aye de aboa omo. Omo nyuma no be konkan no matimi qualify for World Cup no. And also okay. And ye kwan say ni e be fa. So for now, that kind of quality na e be boa ma yakọ animu no. E din si e benya bi wa. It we are going to look for players ah. Omo sa moja ni bi. No ma baba be si akan de amayen. Omo hwehwe ya to the extent say he got on the internet. Omo player baako Pico Lopez. Or sending a message on LinkedIn. It was in Portuguese. Message in a call, you know. People read the message on Tiasia because on a brofo no kaken, ya won Ireland. Or see afraid you feel sad and crampo a scam. Into a hair on do closing no pen a baby tonight. One hand who crampo and himbium. Letter officially, and almost sending a letter in English. And I feel what Tiasia who decided to be Baba Bisia Kaino, Eddie Amomo. Within that period in Yano, they had that kind of time. Any patience behind the coach Bobista. Sa omo kaka no monko. Along the line, a plani adie bebemu injuries baye. There is one player, Stopira, can retire from the national team last year, June, and will join national team ni bo. Says see when you 37 years, on to mean see a kind from national team ni biom. Into a quack penny baby at an wajana home. This year, yeah, in September, there are a lot of players on my prepare. Other players, they spoke to the players, say, Omra back, Omra me quickly, and G2, and or science by. The last game they played against Eswatini, on the share last goal, which is the third goal, and the Cabo Verdean national team. Until with time, any patience, any proper planning, a DB person watch you as to be able to achieve. And it is one thing, a lot of the elite teams, any countries, and this time, they have to learn from that. And many baby no move future football no more no. One or two bad results about pet na ye pamu coach quickly. But football no, and this a magic. na coach ne ba na no hit the ground running derby obehia time no de atoto ne niam ansa na wa ye adwuma enti de these two countries aye other countries na kakra bi ayempam coach no munsu bibi mfamfrim se wunya bre na wo plan yi a ade bi a wo pese wo nsaka wo football mu bia no on sabetimi aka congratulations to Cape Verde they deserve it ken because they have worked for it oman ba ko a ono so World Cup no one qualify but I feel say the modern mocking asomani pa Niger no Morocco group ni mu Zambia coach any Abraham Grant it is a per country in that group ebi obeyi no so no be qualify for the World Cup I am sure say edi obi abebo Morocco but we Morocco wie na ye bisa say nkuro na aka no why na wo feel say obetimi a qualifier and I say be obenya the second spotter I am sure say na nko obi abeka Zambia Yeka Zambia, if 2012 football African Cup of Nations, they have become a force at the point Omo conform, yes. But it doesn't take away that kind of quality Omo possess it. Any ball I no more. Especially when they got a Van Gant. Any ball kakra the last African Cup of Nations on the boy, you know. A man for shall say so munya sa trust in the woman. But Niger team no, Ekova Zaki Berdu, and the buy as the coach. So I'm not boa I will qualify it anymore. Papa Jumana aye. Only 15 points in that group. On the second. And the kind of projects Nigerians also starting again. A Jumana Comoros mo ye. The Cape Verde mo ye. And the Cape Verde qualify Eco World Cup no. And no be na Nigerians also was here. Zaki Badu so make sure say obe sported talent. Omo betimi abo omo ye eligible so omo si akan de manager. No mo baba be si akan de amo. As we speak, omo national team nikita about 4 Ghanaian descent. Omo si akan de amo. Omo last game omo qualifying round. Omo ko share Zambia 1-0. I was Zambia home. Player we share goal no Daniel Sosa. A Ghanaian boy. And as a Sosi kind of manager. Omo na Jibi Yakubu. And so omo team who is a Ghanaian. I didn't care see a kind under 17 under 20 or Ghana ati. It is our project in our countries be no munya resource no. Zaki Badun Swasha say. Oye be manager. And he deserves that kind of mention. I am sure say or building upon Kakana Washa say oye no. Now to also with this Ebi anam rebi beba ye bebo World Cup qualifier said ye Cape Verde mo kona ye di omo home komo no na ye ba benya Niger onu so betimi akwa kopiem at the world stage ken Nigeria say one qualifier and World Cup they shouldn't blame anybody ay omo ankasa nepe e na abanesa
Nigeria
yes look at the kind of quality players in Nigeria kita me jitu say football no enye strikers nkwa na ye de ball. That is for a fact. But at the back then, a boy Barcelona, yeah, Barca, and the Pep Guardiola was the kind of attack, especially Lionel Messi, and Barcelona war. So that time, no, Gerard Piqué, Nicolas Puyol, they were very good. And you goalkeeper Vardes. But that triangular defense, we know me nobody dance here. Say you're so strong, sir. Individually, Debbie. But collectively as a unit, na nyama kon kind of but our Lionel Messi jina ni mu hono mo so mo concede 4 goals Lionel Messi nko betimi a 5 woni mu ama win it into the attack no aya na play key role in team bia performance who Victor Osimhen ho quality striker by all standards na nse ya hwa Adam's performance order na Dima Sevilla super striker and so with all this quality now for coach omna me coach Nigeria fan qualifying for World Cup for Eric Shelley and then the buy the performance was Mali Cramponet saying now we entrusted with the Nigerian national team Super Eagles so no name na juma just because coach biaba omunya time on fama no problem ketua bi yes solvable Crampo no magina so na kono mapam no because in penifoni feels omu ne wo to me and omu dey picky coaches and the fire coaches. It's Nigeria decision to sack Geno Raw na no call no. Ono na only Benin baba bebo ye Benin national team coach. And that makes the game very interesting because Benin to your World Cup now obeko.
And in Nigeria so me to my qualify for alcohol playoff in Bia. This almost say Benin 1-0 and now 2-0.
Yes.
Normal say South Africa into me say Rwanda.
Aye.
And so now Nigeria to my playoff. Aye. It's almost say 1 and now 2. No more some other game they say South Africa and say
Rwanda. And football be a bit messy. But for South Africa, I see say a day on Rwanda. baabi ɔmo gyina no
yɛbɛhwɛ na anwummerɛ
so for Nigeria they can ɔmo blame ɔmo ankasa ɔmo
ɛno sɛ Ghana for no bebree kora mpɛ sɛ Nigeria for bɛqualify de ntia ɛyɛ bɛ no ɛyɛ time bɛ no
ɛyɛ huro kɛkɛ ntia
ɛyɛ yɛmfa no nsuo na menim nkɔmmɔ kakra mmra na